Oh my god, the host just triple sapped me.
You see who's food running today?
56 was just sitting there making out the entire time I was trying to take
Why do we have
order.
so many servers on the floor? Did you hear about 73?
This is a work of fiction. Any similarity to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events, is purely coincidental.
Welcome back. We should start saying welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Rolling Silverware. I'm Kat,
Hi, I'm Bunny.
and this is our post-shift shit talk.
Yeah.
It's been almost 2 weeks since we've been able to record.
Too much time has passed.
Way too much time has passed because there are things that my notes app is getting
She's
a
been
little...
holding out on me.
I
She's
really
like, I
have.
can't tell you about this yet. And I'm like, that's great.
Yeah.
Love that.
So a little bit of pre-shift.
Yeah, give me the pre-shift.
So the other day, this made me irately mad. I literally sat down with the server manager at the end of my shift after this happened and told her, take me off the phone list. Like, don't ever call me again to do a favor for management.
Oh, shit. What
And
happened?
in this next segment, you're going to hear a lot of beeps because we kind of forgot that we probably shouldn't be name dropping people on our team. So enjoy that. So I go to roll silverware in the back of our restaurant. We have like the dumpster area, right?
Right.
And then like the one table that seats like 8 people.
Yeah.
I go to roll silverware and the server manager goes, oh, servers aren't allowed to roll silverware back here anymore.
Oh, yeah, you didn't hear?
Well, the kitchen was complaining.
Yeah, because there's nowhere for them to sit and eat.
Right, fair enough.
On their break, which is entirely fair.
Okay, where am I supposed to roll silverware?
Right, so I can't do it on the floor.
I'm not allowed to do it on the floor, so she tells me, oh, you can do it in the back where they prep. I go back there and they're prepping carrots. And I'm like...
At night?
It was early. Yeah, I got cut early.
Okay.
So I was like, where do you want me to do it here? Am I supposed to roll my silverware next to these people prepping food?
Right.
And she goes, no, don't do there. Don't do it there. And then she goes over to that little fold away table that we have tucked in a corner where servers sit down and eat.
Right.
2 seats.
Yeah, 2 tiny seats.
2 seats.
And also half of it's taken up by a bus tub full of stuff from the dish pit.
Exactly.
For the last 2 weeks.
For always. And she goes, oh, you can do it here. And I was like, oh, so the 2 seats that the front of house is allowed to sit down and eat, we can go ahead and roll our silverware here, but we can't do it in the back, the 8-seat table back there.
Right.
Why is the solution not getting us another table in the back? Why is the solution to tell front of house that back of house needs it to sit down and eat? She looks at me, she goes, I don't have a good answer for you. Her favorite thing to say.
They never have a good answer.
Her favorite thing to say.
I don't have the answer for you right now.
Yeah, I don't.
Great.
I don't have a good answer for you right now. I'm really sorry. But did say that servers really shouldn't be sitting down and rolling silverware.
That was my biggest problem with this whole thing. I was waiting to see if they told you that because we covered this in pre-shift the other day. And she says to
said that out loud. She said the quiet part out loud.
Said it. And was like, yeah, so we can't be using the table. And so I'm waiting for the reason why, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's because, like she said, back of house has nowhere to sit when they take their breaks. And they do take their breaks at the end of the night. That's when we roll silverware. Okay, fair. When I started at this place, we were allowed to roll silverware out on the floor as long as we did it in a section where there were no guests.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, guests aren't allowed to see that we are prepping for the next day. It's salacious.
Right.
Like, scandalous. Absolutely not. I mean, do they think that the silverware rolls itself? Is it just absurd that somebody might be doing things to prep for the next day, but you can't let guests see it? Guests, it's like they're trying to pull a whole like Disney thing, where like nobody sees the behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's all magic.
Yeah, everything's magic, and it's like this restaurant's not magic. It's far from it. But then she only says it one time. Then she says, and we're really not supposed to be sitting down. Because it's like, yeah, we're on the clock, and we understand you guys are on your feet all day, but so is everybody in the back. Yeah, okay, I've never once told somebody in the back you can't sit down. Excuse me?
Right.
I have finished my front of house duties. I have done everything I need to do for the guests. All of my guests are gone. I can't sit to roll silverware. You haven't provided me a table that I can comfortably stand at.
Right.
So you want me to hunch over at my big age of 35 years old? You want me hunched over whatever fucking little slab you've designated for me to do this at? That's when I walked away. I just walked away from pre-shift during that. The moment that left her mouth. Well, we really shouldn't be sitting down. Excuse the fuck out of me? Coming from the managers who sit down 90% of their shift?
That was my shit. She straight told me, and I bet that this is why she didn't say it in pre-shift. The general manager said, you can't be sitting down while you roll silverware. And I walked into the office after my shift and I said, take me off the call list. You guys, a bartender calls out, don't call me.
Don't call me.
I will never do another favor for a management team that doesn't see me as a human being.
Right.
Because to say that I'm not allowed to sit down and do my side work is some of the most dehumanizing shit I've ever heard in my life. And I'm going
when 90% of the manager's side work is sitting at a fucking computer.
And I even said that. I was like, that's really rich coming from our general manager who sits in here for 10 hours a day on her pre-shift looking at Etsy and Excel spreadsheets. Fuck off.
Yeah.
And even our server manager was like, yeah, like I went in.
We're not allowed to sit down. Like I said, again, I am done with my standing job. My standing job is now done.
I have
You're going to look at me and tell, no, absolutely not. We work consistently on our feet for 6 straight hours. 6 straight hours.
Pacing.
Pacing nonstop. I have covered miles across this restaurant in a day. I can show you my account for tonight.
I was going to say, I typically can do between 10 and 20.
16,000 steps today. I put this watch on when I got to work. I've done 16,000 steps at this building. And I'm not allowed to sit down. Also, it's bad for your back to be fucking hunched over. What the fuck?
Absolutely.
No. All the way no.
It made me so mad when she said the GM
I will be talking to our GM about that line specifically. I wasn't told who said it when it was told to me in pre-shift. All I was told was, yeah, you guys really shouldn't be sitting down. That's when I walked away because I was like, no, you already made your point. Your point was that the kitchen doesn't have anywhere to eat. Fair. They should absolutely have a place to take their break if people are rolling outside. Why you had to add on the additional, and you guys shouldn't be sitting down.
It's so dehumanizing. I can't believe she even said that in a pre-shift after I went
Am I also not allowed to use the restroom? Am I also not allowed to get a glass of water while I'm doing my 16,000 fucking steps a day? Let's pull up your guys' pedometer. I would love to see how many steps the GM takes around the store in a night shift. I would fucking love it. What do you bet? 2,000?
If that. Sometimes when we have 3 tables, she'll come out and start panicking and pacing the floor.
Right.
Yeah, that made me
You guys shouldn't be
mad.
sitting.
Yeah.
No. Like I said, when I heard that little bit, I just walked away. I was like, you don't want to hear what the next words out of my mouth are going to be.
And they should have been that night. Because then she would have 100% seen, like, what saying something like that to a bunch of servers, like, does. And I'm sorry, you might be able to get away with saying something like that to a 70-year-old who hasn't retired. Because they're, we're, commitment to the company, whatever, blah, 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 like that old mindset. Maybe even an 18-year-old who
I was going to say, maybe
this...
even like a 16 or 17-year-old who's like, oh, okay, yeah, I like, green as shit and doesn't know that they have rights of their own.
Right. You're not going to tell me.
I will send an email to our regional tonight and be like, I was informed that I could not sit down to do duties that are physically easier to do sitting down. And like I said, they don't provide us with a table at a height that makes sense. Like,
I told her that was some of the most dehumanizing shit I've ever heard in my life. I will never do a favor for a management team that doesn't see me as a person.
Yeah.
I am in my big age of almost 40. You are not going to fucking tell me. I'm almost 40. Shut the fuck up.
She's stretching.
I'm not.
A bit.
I'm closer to 40 than I am 30.
Okay, yeah, but it's a big roundup. Like,
it's 3 years.
Yeah, you just turned 37.
Yes,
like
which means I had 37 years on this
then
planet.
Say that. Say like in my big age of 37 years old. That's like in almost 40. Okay, fucking relax.
You fucking relax.
I can't. I'm not allowed to sit down.
But yeah, I went in, and even that night,
and rightfully so.
There was somebody else, another manager that was working, and I can't remember which one it was, but they were like, "Oh, you ready to do your checkout?" Oh, it was the guy that's leaving. And he was like, "Oh, you ready to do your checkout?" And I was like, "No, I'm gonna go ahead and wait for my service manager. I have a few things that I need to say to her, and I respect you too much to tell them to you."
Yeah.
I mentioned the guy that's leaving, and you had a face.
No, it's just like when I called out on Sunday and he answered that phone, because I was 100% ready to tell what I had to say to anybody at all.
Right.
You're not getting me inside a restaurant when I have thrown up. Like,
yeah, fair.
sorry, I'm not powering through. You guys can do without me.
No, I'm too
But
old
as
for
soon
that.
as he picked up the phone, I was like, I'm not making it in today. I feel like garbage. I have thrown up. I have a migraine. And he goes, cool, we can get by without you. I'm all thanks. And he goes, feel better. And I go, thanks. And he goes, fuck it. And like, it's off.
Fuck it.
Fuck it. Oh, I want to tell you about pre-shift tonight because you weren't there. Even though we
What?
got here at the same time, you were handling your large party.
Okay.
So you just weren't. I was waiting because I wanted the food.
I legitimately didn't even know there was like no one even told me.
Yeah, we did a pre-shift, and so we're being talked. Our server manager's talking to us about. So I'm not allowed to answer any questions because I'm a bartender, but she's going over the drink.
It was a Paloma.
The Paloma, yeah. And she said, can anybody name the ingredients? And the guy whose last day was today chimed in with half of the ingredients, and a couple other people filled them in. They forgot the agave, though, so I spoke that up.
Oh, yeah, you did.
And then she says, so how would you guys sell this drink to a table? Like, what's like a fun and exciting way that you would sell this to a table? And I was like, well, I wouldn't, because it's a garbage cocktail. And 90% of them get sent back. And she just looks at me. And then our kitchen manager, who's standing there, our EKM is standing there, and he goes, what? And then 3 other people chime in and they go, this drink gets sent back all the time. And she's like, oh, okay, well, like, how would you describe it to a guest? So a couple people chime in how we would describe this drink to a guest. It's a spicy version of a Paloma. It does have mezcal in it. You know, make sure
it's like
you're aware.
a smoky,
spicy Paloma. And so that's what we, collectively agreed on. And then she goes, oh, okay, so since nobody really seems to like it, she's like, what's another way? Like, how would you maybe sell another drink to some, like, if somebody wanted this, what would you suggest instead? And I looked at her and I said, I would never not suggest a signature cocktail. And she goes, good answer. And I was like, yeah, this is a signature cocktail normal? On our list. Could you imagine telling somebody, yeah, that thing you want that we've like highlighted and announced to you? It's garbage. I can't say that. I can't say that to somebody. They can order something and I can go,
I say that all the time.
I say similar things, but that's not the answer she wanted.
Well, yeah, fair.
So when
if
my,
she asked,
when my manager is asking me, how would you lead them towards something else? I would never steer somebody away from a signature cocktail. I wouldn't. We have it on the menu for a reason. This one, I don't know what the reason is.
I've literally told people before when they order the sting, so like our idea of a spicy margarita. But before, when we were freezing the syrup and then unfreezing
and it wasn't coming
was
out
really,
well.
really bad. People would be like, "Oh, I'll get that drink," and I would look at them and be like, "Oh, have you had it before?" And if they said no, I'd be like, "You shouldn't have it tonight."
Yeah,
I would literally tell them, I was like, "It's the worst thing on the menu. You really shouldn't have it."
Don't have it now.
And then I would make I would be like, we can muddle in like jalapeno to our margarita to make it.
Yeah, I can make you a cucumber jalapeno margarita that
and that was always what I did.
Would probably be fire. And I'm more comfortable suggesting cocktails as a bartender.
Yeah.
Because then I can be like, well, I actually have a little flair or take on this, and they welcome that. They're fine with us doing that. But I mean, I'm honest with people. I was honest with the table tonight when they said, oh, how's your crab appetizer? And I was like, they're not bad. There's 2 of them. I feel like it's a little too heavy on the breading, in my opinion. And the guy looks at me and he goes, thanks for your honesty. And I was like,
people always appreciate it. Yeah.
I was like, calamari, fire. I was like, you like artichokes? Amazing. That pesto mayo, delicious. I was like, I'll do anything for pesto. And then like always gets a laugh, right? But I mean, he looked right at me and he's like, thank you for your honesty. And it's like, well, yeah, because not that the crab appetizer gets sent back all the time. I just don't feel like it lives up to the hype that it seems to be built up to.
The problem is our sister location, the fine dining location that we have that's a sister location to us,
has a much better version.
It's literally all lump crab, like barely any breading.
Right.
So
exactly how you would want something like that to be.
Exactly. So when people come here and they kind of think like, oh, it's all owned by the same company, it's probably the same.
Right.
I will always tell people when they ask me like, oh, how is the crab cakes? And I'll straight tell them, I was like, it has a lot of breading. It's probably more breading than crab. Some people really enjoy that. I personally really like that. I like that the remoulade that comes with it.
Right.
But some people don't like that. So if that's not what you're looking for, then you probably wouldn't like it. And every time, thank you so much. Oh my God, thank you. Like, and I'll always tell them, I'll end that whole spiel with, yeah, if you enjoy your time here, you're going to pay me more. So I'm going to tell
Right.
you what's good.
I'm gonna give you my honest opinion on things.
Like, I would look
Um,
like such a jackass if I
Right.
told them everything looked great on the menu.
Right. Well, and you can't. You have to lean, like, you want to steer them towards the better items, but at the same time, nothing on our menu should be bad, right?
No,
When
it's
you're
not.
speaking to a manager specifically,
True.
and like I don't trash talk everything on the menu, but like when people ask about our mac and cheese, oh, how's the mac and cheese? And I look at them and I go, depending on the night, it can be really good. And they're like, well, how is it tonight? And I go, I don't know, I haven't seen it yet.
Yep.
And then sometimes I tell people, and I shouldn't, but I tell people that, oh, it's like noodles thought about cheese. Like they considered cheese, and that's it.
They dreamt about it last
Yeah.
night.
And there's like a lingering attempt of cheese. Because for everything else we pump out of that kitchen that is good quality,
Mm-hmm.
the mac and cheese is like it's such an afterthought. And the fact that we have it on the kids' meal as like a main meal for kids, like,
Yeah.
sure, it's good enough for kids, but like, holy shit, we could make that so much better. And we
Yeah.
have all of the current ingredients to make it so much better, but we don't, and it bothers me.
It's odd that it's so hit and miss.
It depends on who makes it, because whoever wants to make the right amount of cheese sauce will. But if they're lazy that day, which is like, I get it, but you know, if you half-ass
Yeah.
it only dries out from there, so it just
Right.
gets worse. Yeah, no, I just thought that was funny. It felt like a trick question, like, and what would you suggest to somebody instead? And it's like, I would never not suggest a cocktail on our signature cocktail list. If somebody asks me, what's your favorite? Oh, yeah, I'm going to give you my list of favorites.
Right.
And I'm going to, go into the spin-offs of, well, I actually prefer this or that. Or here's why I wouldn't pick that one if they ask me. But if a guest just says, I'll take the Paloma, and I go, ugh, don't. That's not going to go over super well. And corporate would fucking hate that.
Yeah.
So, no. Tonight was good, though. I was busy. I had a good night until the end there.
I had a decent night. I had those 2 large parties, right?
Right.
And then I had like 4 other tables, I think, that I turned and burned
Yeah.
with the 2 booths that I had.
Yeah.
I was in I hate that section so much. And it
It's a
feels
weird
like,
section.
yeah, the big parties are so hit and miss that sometimes like it really works out and sometimes it doesn't. My first party, it was just like 11 old couples
Right.
and
All seated
just the most random
sporadically
place.
across this table.
All the guys needed to sit at one end, all the ladies needed to sit at the other end. And then they're just like, oh yeah, so I'm going to get this and I'm going to split it with my husband way over there on the other side of the table. And I was just like, yeah, fuck it up. Let's do
Great.
that.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
And if in the middle you all want to get up and change places, I would
Ugh.
love that too.
Yeah, so I tried to
But
keep
don't
it.
call out the food when it gets to the table.
You better not. Everybody does. I even tried to make it as streamlined as possible when I sent it into the kitchen.
Right.
I put split item, and then I put the seat numbers of like
Oh,
who's,
smart. Yeah.
and I told this is how I'm doing it.
Well,
so
and with
that-
that table specifically, that's an easy count table. Like,
right.
you better not be starting on the other side of that table. You better be starting your count.
Some people really start their one count right next to the patio door, which is like in no way, shape, or form.
Only if the table's pushed all the way up against the other side. Like if 91 is squished against the wall and I can't stand there, then I will, wherever I can stand is where I'm going to start. But either way, walking up to the table, that should be obvious to you.
Right.
You should be able to walk up to that table and be like, well, there's no way she stood behind this person and started taking orders. Because who the fuck would do that?
Right.
But no, I get what you're
But
saying.
in every table, the one is closest to the kitchen.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
And
like, and then it
unless I
goes left
can't.
or right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I did that, and then they still brought it out, and it was a hot mess.
Of course.
I had to stand there and like, okay, there's fish tacos here, and this
Right.
is here, and this is here.
I
And
mean,
this
of
is here.
course, with that amount of.
Yeah, it's
you
just clustery.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all over the place. But they tipped fairly well. I don't
Right.
remember what the total was, but at the end of the day, like some of them only had like a $60 tab, and they left
Okay.
me $20. You know what I
Beautiful.
mean? Yeah. So it was
Yeah.
like a couple of them over tipped by a lot, and then none of them under tipped.
Perfect.
So I definitely got my money's worth like there, and they were so nice. They were
Yeah.
like, what's your name? I'm gonna ask for you when I come back to and they come in all the time. I'm
Right.
pretty sure I have taken care of them before.
That's good.
Yeah. So they're like, we're gonna ask for you next time, and I was like, heck yeah, do it. Like they had a bunch of split checks. It was 8 split checks
Yeah,
at the
that
end of
was
the
an
night.
insane amount.
It
You were
was a
using
lot.
all of our check
I
presenters.
really was, and I'm sorry. I don't know what
Every
else to
single
do.
one of them was taken by your one table.
Right, which is frustrating. I get it, and I tried to
it's
pick
fine.
them up as quick as possible.
I get by.
No, of course. But yeah, they were fine. And then the second party was making me a little bit more nervous because there was like a bunch of kids on the table. And then as the check started like getting higher and higher, and like once it reached like 350, 400, that always makes me nervous, no matter what the people look like, what they're doing. Like, unless you have bands sitting on the table.
I'm not sure how this is going to play
I'm
out.
always going to be like, ooh, I don't know if you're going to look at that and think like, oh yeah, 20% is almost $100. That sounds fair.
Right.
Because not a whole lot of people
Not a
do
lot of
think,
people are
yeah,
willing to toss down $100 at the end of that. And
as a
that's
tip.
right.
Exactly.
And I understand that, but also like don't pay for the whole table then. That's all I
Right,
have
split
to
your
say.
check. But yeah, it was one of those things where one person paid it and they left me almost 20%. It was
Okay.
like
That's good.
$3 under 20%. So
Yeah.
I wasn't super fussed about it.
I got several 30% tips tonight, which
Nice.
felt really good. And I mean, my sales were really high.
I didn't even check my sales.
I think I was hanging at like 18 and I got there at 5 o'clock.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. And I had a lot of good guests, you know. So all in all, it was a decent night.
You're in a decent section.
Yeah. Yeah, it paid out.
L2
which I really
is nice,
needed
and
it
then
too.
when it moves into L1 is good.
Well, and I went half an hour without getting a single table after being moved because she had all the tables already, and then they got cleared, and then nothing, and then the next thing I know,
tables.
I get a 2-top, I get another 2-top, I get a guy who sat himself, and then another 2-top who sat themselves at the appropriate tables to seat yourself at. And then immediately after that, I'm getting another table as things are crumbling from the kitchen due to just sheer idiocracy. Yeah, I was so mad.
Yeah.
I thought about what I was going to say walking up to the supervisor tonight because I was like, hold it in. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine. It was just mac and cheese. But it wasn't, you know, it's not even just what it was. It's the fact that he looked at that ticket, took out what he took out, and then bumped it and said, fuck it.
Yeah, it didn't.
And I don't
check or
have the
anything.
time to come and run the line on top of being triple sat and having a table with a million questions and this, because that is outside of my job.
Right.
That's something I shouldn't have to be worried about. But when I walked up to the supervisor and I was just like, hey, so if we're going to leave the food runner running the line, let's make sure he can read a fucking ticket. And his whole face was like, yeah. Sure. And I'm like, great, thanks. And I walked away. And then when I spoke to him later, he's like, so where was the kitchen manager? And I was like, fuck if I know. What's he doing? Like, now granted, usually after 8:30, we don't get a pop. That's rare that we get a pop like that, where
True.
I ended up with 6 more tables. The closer ended up with 4 or 5 more tables.
Yeah, I want to say both the kitchen supervisor and the kitchen manager were on the line making food, which like...
No, kitchen manager was gone.
Oh, he fucked off?
Either having a cigarette or he was putting away the delivery. He was gone. He was nowhere to be found. Because he's who I wanted to speak to first.
To yell at, yeah.
And instead I had to speak directly to my line to let my line know what I needed, which luckily our kitchen soup was back there.
Mm-hmm.
So I could look at him and be like, hey, I need this. And he's like, yeah, it's sitting right here. Great.
Thank you so much.
How long has it been sitting there? And then also, why are you pushing that at me to now put it out on the table? Like, that's dead to me. Give me a new one. But they didn't have enough new prepped to give to me. And I was just like, fucking great. And they're like, stir it up. Okay.
Yeah. These noodles that have been sitting under a hot lamp for how long?
That, you know, considered cheese at some point in their day.
Right.
Yeah, stir it up. Will that create
no
more
cheese.
cheese? Is that the trick? Is that how you guys make it in the back? You just stir it long enough until fucking cheese pops up? I don't think so. I should try that at home.
Milk noodles.
I'm just going to, enough churning, I guess. You'll get cheese.
Speaking of tables.
Yes.
So I want to say it was like last week. I was behind the bar, and during the day shifts, our bartender is allowed to take a section, right? So they have tables and stuff. And I'm working a day shift, and it was one of the days where I was supposed to be training.
Right, and our trainee wasn't there.
Yeah, I don't know if she got like COVID. She got
Not sure.
sick.
She was sick, like sick as a dog.
Real sick,
Yeah.
right? So I just ended up working bar shifts. And at one point, we had two of our strongest servers in the restaurant daytime.
Yeah.
They each have 4 tables each. And people sat themselves in the lounge.
Right.
I had 7. And the manager turned away a party of 17 because they were like, it's going to be about an hour and a half wait in the middle of the day when there is nobody around.
There are 8 tables seated in our 50-table restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
We can't seat you.
2 of the strongest servers that we have are currently on the floor, and they wouldn't give them that 5th table to split between the 2 of them. And they were mad.
Yeah, rightfully so.
EKM, I've never seen him this mad. He was irate. He was like, any other manager would have gone in and started that table and would have taken that table themselves and then just given the tip to somebody. There is no way that we should have turned away that party, blah, 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 blah. Which, I mean, yes. Also, who mobs that deep?
Just in the middle of the day?
Me and my 17 closest friends were hanging out, and we thought we'd
On a
come to
Wednesday
we thought we'd come
afternoon.
to this fish place for lunch. What? What are you doing with your life?
No reservation. Didn't call ahead.
No reservation, no nothing. Just me and my 17 closest friends.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Did you arrive in a bus? Like,
yeah, like what's
how did you
happening?
all convene here at the same time?
It was the most bonkers thing I had ever heard. But also, they literally turned it away. Gave them an hour and a half wait time with a completely empty restaurant.
Hour and a half for what? For every other? We need every other table to leave?
At least some of them. Yeah. Absolutely ridiculous. And so the bar manager,
who was on
bar manager and server manager.
Really?
Yes.
And they couldn't
No.
start the table.
No.
Just get it started. Or even better yet, why don't you guys watch the 8 other tables that these servers currently have, because they're in different stages of being served.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of them probably have food in. A lot of them might even be eating right now.
Some of them might even be closed out.
Right.
Or close
Why
to
don't you
closing
guys
out.
take over those sections for 15 minutes tops? How long does it take to get a party started? And then you leave them alone for a fucking while, and then you go back and you take the order. That takes 5 minutes.
Yep.
Oh my God. I almost want to check the Yelp reviews and see if we got anything.
I have been
that.
checking. And
Okay.
nothing has come in yet for it. But
that's absurd.
So EKM pissed. I've never seen him mad like that. And
he was dropping some words with me last night.
I need to hear all about that.
But it was good.
So I'm in the bar. I have 7 tables. I want to say like 3 of them sat themselves.
Right.
And bar manager comes in and she goes, are all of these tables yours? I'm talking from 31 to 37. Yeah. I am balls deep in it. And she goes, are all of these yours? And I go, yeah.
Whose else's would they be?
Right. And I was like, 3 of them sat themselves. So, when I'm trying to save the host, to say like the host didn't seat all of these, just because I don't need her running to the hostess to yell at her.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, some of them sat themselves, whatever. And she just goes, oh my gosh. And she like walks away. And I'm like, what did you think I was going to do? Did you think that somebody would come and sit in the bar and it would be my 5th table and I'd walk out and be like, oh, I'm so sorry. I have too many tables. Can somebody please take Absolutely not. I'm going to take that money.
Yeah.
I'm going to make my money. Get out.
Also, I was hanging with 6 tables at the end of tonight.
Yeah.
Nobody said fuck all to me.
No, because, and that's the thing is like, you have servers that you can absolutely throw in those bigger sections. Yeah. The bar area and the lead server, the hammer, should always have 6 table stations. Always.
Also, was your bar top full or was it just tables?
I had absolutely no one at bar top.
Okay, so you're just doing a regular everyday job.
Right.
Like, not in the weeds, not...
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I got busy for a second.
Of course,
because,
anybody would.
Yeah, at 7 tables, and some of them sat right around the same time.
Yeah.
Because obviously they would come in and be like, oh, can I sit down? And they'd be like, oh, it's going to be a 20 to 30 minute wait for an empty, thing. And they'd be like, I'm just going to go sit in the bar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and then they just come into the bar and they sit down. And I'm not going to turn you in and be like, I'm so sorry, you can't sit here.
No.
I need you to wait 20 minutes at the front because I have 4 tables.
I'm at my limit, says corporate.
Yeah, absolutely nobody. Yeah, so I thought that was really funny. Like, I don't know what she expected me to do. Like, I'm not going to tell on myself.
No.
I'm going to take every single table that's in my area until somebody tells me not to.
Yeah.
I'm done with my silverware. Let's go get checked out.
Yeah, let's go check out.
Bye.
Bye.